Okay, guys, welcome to part three. I just finished up that last part. I was mainly just showing you guys that one PDF for like, what is it, 30 minutes, I think. And I was talking about book design and just things to think about when you're creating your layout and your spreads. And so this is the part where we're getting back into Photoshop and we're going to start laying out a spread so we can start taking it to InDesign. So, yeah, here we go. So here's my file. I think I introed this file to you last term. I mean, this was the file that we started in part one, but I moved on over to this other file, which is set up very similarly. And so I have my edited sketches already done. They've already been leveled, adjusted, and all these other little tweaks on them and stuff like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start laying out a page. So the first thing is, you guys should already have this set up already, but I have my guide set up. This is going to be my gutter right here, right? And it's just something to think about, especially depending on what binding you do. But I'm going to set this up as if I did a Coptic binding. So basically, I don't have to worry as much about the gutter. I do have to worry some, but I don't have to worry as much about the gutter. And so, because it opens flat, on every page. So there's going to be a little fold over for each signature. A signature is a group of pages that are bound together as one group, and then you usually have a bunch of those different signatures sewn together, and then you have many groups of these pages which create a book. So yeah, sometimes you have foldovers and you have bins within the signature, so you will see that a little bit, but really it's not that bad. It's kind of like how old books are put together, like cloth bound books, which are like archival quality. Yeah, so those are cool too. But anyway, let's start getting a page together. So right now my sorry, I keep getting off track, but you should have these guides together with the gutter set up and your page margins and stuff. You should have your page already set up to the correct dimensions. Right now, if I go up to image and I go to image size, my image right now is 13 by 19, which is the full size of the spread. If I were to add 13 by 9.5 together, each page should be 13 by 9.5, which I have. If I look here, 0 to 9.5, that's where my page starts right here. Each page will be 13 to 9.5, so together that's 13 by 19, which is the size of your paper. So it looks like I'm working well right there, and I got my 300, so my 300 is good right there. So I'm good to go. So this is what you guys should have right here. So what you guys want to do then is you go to your edited and separated section, however you have it organized. I kind of show you two different ways. You can organize each Photoshop file by chapter, or you can have one massive Photoshop file and then you have the chapters all in groups, and then you have all these edited ones in separate groups, so you can do either way. But you should have your file with all your edited sketches all ready to go, and you just want to start laying them out how you think they look the best. And so right now I already have some pages, and that's what the colors are for. I had some that I thought kind of worked well. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm just placing my images where I want them, and I'm thinking about where am I going. I mean, this is just a first pass, but I'm thinking about where is my text going to be? Where's the gutter? How do my images work around the gutter? Is it evenly balanced? How is the composition of the whole page? If I'm looking at the whole page right here, and I'm looking at each individual page, how is the composition on this page? How is the composition on this page? How do the compositions work together? How will the composition of each spread work with each other spread? Kind of like how Ching was showing in the demo right here. How do each one, if I zoom in here, this is what makes this so genius, because there are a lot of levels to a book. This is a whole book right here. She's saying this could be like a zine or something like that, or a personal project or something like that. So she's saying each one of these pages is its own composition, and it's interesting. And she's saying each spread is also a composition. And then she's saying how they all work together as a whole is another type of composition. And so that's what you need to be thinking about when you're laying out your own book. And so what's going on with my tablet right now? What is going on? My tablet's acting all weird right now. Let me I got the cord right here. Right now I'm on wireless mode. I think the battery's starting to go low, so let me plug that in real quick and get back to this. I'm using my Intuos, right? My Intuos Pro right now. So that's all. Sorry guys if there's any noise. There. Okay, I'll plug in. I got my cord already. And is that a little bit better? That is a little bit better. That's way smoother now. Okay, cool. I think the battery is just running low on wireless things right now. I think that's all it was. But yeah, anyways, so I'm looking at this. I'm looking at each individual. I'm looking at the whole, okay? And so as I'm looking at this, I'm envisioning where am I going to put my text? And are my page numbers going to work? Like, do I want page numbers on every page? Do I want to just remind the viewer where the page number is maybe every few pages? You can do that if you want. If you only want to put a page number like every 2 pages or every 3 pages, that's totally cool too. Maybe you only want page numbers on every odd number page, every even number page. I mean, that's totally cool also. You can do that if you want. It's your book. I mean, it's cool. I mean, the more cues you give us for organization, the better. But, I mean, you can still do that if you want. So that's totally cool. What else am I thinking about? I'm thinking about titles of the project. You know, I'm thinking of all that stuff. So when I'm laying these images in their spots, you know, if I'm laying these images in their spots, I'm thinking about is that going to work for me? You know, what's this space doing here? I mean, that kind of looks awkward. What's that space doing? You know, I'm also looking at like the small view here. You know, if I can make this a tad bigger. You know, why is this as an L? You know, I mean, is this working for me? Is this working for the book? Maybe it works better, like maybe over here. I'm thinking it works better a little bit over there, maybe. But then, you know, this to me, I mean, this being the bottom here, this being the bottom, to me, it looks a little off. It could work. Maybe I have this coming out of a graphic. I mean, maybe I have a background on it. I don't know. So I'm thinking about all this stuff, you know. Maybe I'm going to lower this a little bit. And then what I could do is I don't know, maybe put this over on the inside. Maybe that's cool. I don't know. Yeah, that could be cool. And then what I could do is, because now what I'm seeing here is I got this kind of like triangle thing going on, right? And so I kind of like that. And so maybe then the other thing I could do is what I'm thinking, you know, if I were to sketch this out, I'm not going to do it, but if I sketch this out right here, I'm not going to do it here in this program. Maybe I could have like a text box here. I'm just sketching it, you know. Maybe I could have a text box there, and then this could be treated as a whole or something like that, you know. And then maybe also I could have like another text box here. You know, that could be cool. And then I could have like another text box over here. You know, so these are the things I'm thinking about when I'm putting my image together. Maybe this text box, yeah, maybe it's like that. Maybe this one's like 2 text box. And I have like a space in between, like right there. And then the top one could be a title, and then the bottom one could be like just body stuff or something like that. Maybe this is like a title one, you know. Who knows? But I mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about when I'm doing this spread here in Photoshop. And then how does that look on the page? Do they look kind of balanced? Does this, you know, if I were to cover this, oops, I guess that doesn't work. Let's try it this way. If I were to cover this up, oh, there we go. If I were to cover up only half the composition, does that look good? You know, if I were to cover up the other half of the composition, does that look good? You know, do they look good together? You know, so I mean, hopefully that works. You know, I'm looking at these guidelines. Does anything overdo it? Do they go into the gutter? You know, am I going to lose this line? How important do I value that line? You know, I actually don't value this line that important. You know, it was just continuing the flow when I drew it. That's all I was doing. I really don't care about that line. So I mean, I don't mind losing it. It's not like as if I were going to like cut into the border that much. Now I'm losing like everything, you know, right in there. You know, it doesn't make sense. So I feel like this looks actually not bad. You know, this little flow. You know, it's kind of cool. I like it. So yeah. So if I were going to do this, then I'd turn off this layer. And so what I'm going to do is, this is going to be my spread. I kind of know what I'm going to do because I sketched it out. All I did was use the brush tool, and I held down shift to make these straight lines. That's all I did. You know, that's all I did. Just straight lines for these shift. And so that kind of helped me get a feel for where I'm going to put my boxes. And yeah. So let's go on to the next step. So I'm going to turn this off because I don't need these boxes. I want just this, okay? And so with this all selected, I'm going to come above this layer group. So I already know the images I want are in this group, right? So I'm going to have this group selected, okay? I don't want to press in the group. I want to press the group itself. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Command, Option, Shift, E. Hold them all together. Okay, hold Command, Option, Shift, and then push E. And then bam, okay? What that does is it takes every layer that is visible and it merges them all together as a copy. So if I were to turn this off and I have all my layers off, like if I have that off, it's still on because this is everything now. This is everything. Okay, this is the white background. This is my 3 sketches. It's everything. Okay, that's all I have up right now. The guides, they're just guides. As I think I said this in part 1, but they're not actually part of the image. They're literally just that. They're just guides. I could turn them off anytime. So yeah. So I mean, this is what I want. I want this layer 9. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this out as a JPEG. Okay. So I'm going to do save as. And I'm just going to come on over here to this for you guys. And I'm going to, you know, first I'm going to make a new folder because I like to be semi-organized. I'm going to, because I'm doing this for you guys, I'm going to do this as test run files. There we go. And so now I'm going to save this. And so I'm going to come here, rename it. I'm going to rename it, I guess, jellyfish spread. There we go. And then change this over here to JPEG. Don't go to any of these other JPEGs. I don't know what they do. I just know JPEG. Okay, so just do JPEG. Okay. Now this is important. I'm gonna go over this in just a minute also. But when you're saving this, to correctly save it, make sure it says .jpg. Okay, it has to have dot. And I'll explain why in just a bit, okay? But it just make sure you type the name first and then go to format, okay? Don't do format and then name. Don't do that, okay? Just because it's not going to work for InDesign. It's kind of a weird little quirk, I understand, but just for this process, you need to do the name first and then the format. Sounds dumb, but I'll explain why in a little bit, okay? So there we go. So I'm going to save that out as a JPEG. And you can turn this whatever you want. I keep it typically like around 8 or 9. Me personally. I mean, if you want to go max, that's cool. You know, it doesn't make that much of a difference after a while. It's a nice JPEG. You know, it's nice. Keep it on standard. I don't know if you just saw it. Maybe I clicked off too soon, but keep it on standard. Don't do that optimized stuff. Once in a while, I don't know why, but Photoshop will change it to optimized automatically sometimes in some cases on some files. Don't do that. If it ever does that, just click it all the way back to standard. Take it off optimized. Because sometimes, yeah, it'll save, but it doesn't always open correctly. Or at least I haven't figured out how to open it yet in some programs. And so sometimes it renders the file completely useless. And yeah, so just don't do that. Standard will always be able to open it across different programs, and you can always rework it later and stuff like that. So yeah, just always save it as standard. So yeah, there we go. We're good to go on that spread, okay? Let's do another one. Let's do another one. I'm about to open up InDesign just a little bit. Let's do another one real quick though. So I'm turn this layer off. I don't need that right now. And I already got some done already. I just showed you how to do it, so I already have another one right here, okay? And so this is, I think it's this one, the orange one, I think. So well, I'm just going to say it's another spread, so I'm just going to go ahead. So it's the same process. I didn't walk you through this one, you know. I mean, I kind of just turned this one on also, if you remember. But, you know, I saved it all out and everything. So I did the same exact thing, just different sketches. And so I saved it out. I did the Command, Option, Shift, E. I'm sorry for any Windows users. I don't know what the command button is on Windows. I know that Option equals Alt. For you guys, it might be Control, Option, Shift. I don't know. You guys will have to look that up. I'm sorry. But basically, you're taking all visible layers and you're merging them all together as copies. I think another way you could do that is, if I were to turn these off, turn these on. I think another way you could do that is probably like get this, and then if I hold Command, I can select each individual layer I want selected, and then I think I could go to here, copy, and then it copies all of them together that I want, and then I could probably merge these layers together, and I think that's the same result. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the same exact result. You know, so you guys might have to do that if you guys are Windows users, since I don't know the shortcut for you guys. I mean, this is the same exact thing. But because I know that Command, Option, Shift, E trick, I just don't do that. It just takes too long to select each individual layer, copy them all out, merge them all together, and then save as a new layer. I mean, it just takes too long. So that's why I do that trick, of course, you know. But yeah, let me just delete that. I don't need that right now. And that's cool. Yeah. And so yeah, this was like another spread I was thinking about. And this will be a good example spread actually. So I'm going to use this one as an example actually. But yeah, this will be cool. So this is the same exact thing. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, save as, and test run files. I got that. I'm going to go name first. So name first. So I'm going to call this one fishy. There we go. Fishy. Is that a treasure chest? Yeah, fishy chest. There we go. Fishy chest. And then I'm going to go over here and push JPEG. And there. Now that's good. So remember, name first, then format. Just for now. I'm going to explain why in just a bit, okay? So I'm going to go save, and then bam, it's saved. Almost. Okay, so here's the baseline again. Standard. Then you can choose for this. Don't go too low. You don't want that. You know, I like to keep it like around 8 or 9, maybe 10. But yeah, keep it there. Standard, and done. It's saved. Okay, cool. And then do we want one more? I think we're good for now. I'm gonna show you. Yeah. Okay, we're good for now. Okay. So now, at this point, let's go on ahead and open up InDesign. Here comes InDesign right now. It's opening up. We got Photoshop open also. If your computer can't handle both up at the same time, you guys might be a little slower with the process I'm going to show you. So I'm sorry. You guys might have to keep opening program. I thought of that later because one student out of everyone I taught, they complained of that. And it's just because they were working on a really old machine. So if you guys are working on an old machine, I encourage you guys to go work at school on their machines. Yeah, we just got new computers, I think, like last term or 2 terms. I mean, they're really great right now. So I just go work on that. Work on a fast machine. It's just going to help speed along your process anyway. It just helps. So just do that. Yeah, just waiting for this to open on up. Let me just minimize this right here, cause yeah. And here is InDesign. We're in InDesign now. There we go. We're in InDesign. Okay. So this should be what you generally see when you're opening up InDesign. I don't know why it doesn't have like a backdrop like Photoshop does. I think that's kind of weird, and I actually don't like it because a lot of my background stuff on my desktop are, to me, I feel like they're kind of busy, like all this stuff. I usually have like a lot of photos and stuff on my desktop, and I have rotating slideshow of paintings from one of my favorite artists. But yeah, so anyway, this is kind of what you should see. So don't worry about the no backdrop. This is fine. What you want to do is, so this is the first, I guess, confusing thing right away. We're making a book, but we are not going to select the book thing, okay? This is a little bit misleading, I feel. This book is a completely different type of file, and really what it is, it's a file to hold a collection of documents together, and then it kind of string it together in a book, and it has some extra I think it has tools that will help it create that a little bit more efficiently, and that's for if you're making like books, like real books, like not 30-page, but we're talking like 1,000-page or something like that. I mean, like books, so it's a little bit different, and I really don't know all the different things for this. As I think I've said to you guys in the past in class, it's like I'm really not an InDesign expert, okay? I'm really not, and I'm hoping this part of the video series goes smoothly. I mean, it usually goes okay, and I can get myself by in InDesign, but seriously, I'm no expert at InDesign, and I'm more so in Photoshop. And I think most people in illustration are like that. They're Photoshop and Illustrator fluent, but they're not really in InDesign. And it's just because we don't use it that much. We use Photoshop and InDesign, and that's kind of how this process came about. This is kind of a different type of process. This is not probably how a graphic designer would lay out a book. But this is a process I was showed by Ching, the maker of that document, and she has studied book design and graphic design, all that stuff, but she came up with this process because it's very simple for us Photoshop fluent people to grasp, and it still gets the same thing done. It's just a different way of doing it, and I mean, this is the way I was shown, and so this is the way I show you guys to do it. This is the way that they will do it in dynamic sketching. That's another class here. It's probably about 3rd, 4th term, maybe 5th term class that you guys may take. It's no longer required, I don't think, so I think less people take it now, but it's a really great class. Probably my favorite class here at Art Center. But this is the way they do it in that class also. And so yeah, I just think it's simpler, so that's why we're doing it this way. So anyway, back to this. Let's open up a document. Let's go to document, and okay, so this is already going to start getting a little bit weird, okay? So the first thing we want to do is keep this at the default, okay? That's important, and keep the intent. So this is the intention for the document, and so they want to know, is it for printing, is it for web, or is it for digital publishing, okay? This is probably like ebooks and stuff like that, And so what you want is you want print, because we're printing the thing out, right? And so that's really important. This you don't have to worry about as much, because we are going to be working with this constantly in the file anyway. So I mean, if you want, you can start this out with like, let's say like, I don't know, I'm probably going to be using like 5 maybe. So we can start it off with 5 if you want. That's cool. Facing pages, yeah, we want that. I think I'll know it once we open it in a minute. So I'm not fluent with every term that they use, but I do know what I want. So I'm pretty sure we need that. Okay. Page size. This is important. We don't want letter. Letter is 8.5 by 11. Now, if you notice here, though, it doesn't say 8.5 by 11. It says this P stuff. This is for picas. P stands for picas. This is 51 picas by 66 picas. Okay, P-I-C-A-S, I believe. Picas is a unit of measurement, I think, used by, how do I say it? Like typography people, like the people who are experts in bookmaking and newspaper writing and document creation, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. And so this is kind of the unit measure I believe that they're fluent with. I think that's where it comes from. You guys can Google it if you really want to know, but all you guys really need to know is you need this to be 13 by. They want to know each page. This says page size. So, sorry. Be sure that you have that correct. So each page size is not 13 by 19. That is the full page spread. Each page size is going to be half of 13 by 19. Okay, cut in half vertically. Okay, so it's going to be 13 by 9.5. So the width is going to be 9.5 inches. See? And then this is going to be 13 inches. And I'm going to push enter on that one, okay? And so the enter is automatically going to okay it, and you can see the spinning wheel of death right there by Mac, and it's loading, okay? And so there we go. It should be correct. Right now, I believe the units are still in picus, I think, because I'm looking at this ruler right here. And so what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to InDesign right here, next to the big apple, and I'm going to go to Preferences, and I'm going to go to Units and Increments. And, oh, yeah, it is. It's in picus. See, ruler units. So the ruler is referring to this thing, the ruler right here, just like Photoshop, okay? Just like Photoshop, and it works the same way as Photoshop. You can drag little bars across. So I'm going to switch this on over to inches. I'm do this to inches, and right now it has the origin set on spread. I believe it means here. So that right now this is the first page. This means spread. If I come on down here to over here, I think it changes a little bit. So yeah, let's just okay that right now. It's on inches. That's good. Stroke, I don't know what they're referring to for that, so I don't really care about that. So I'm just gonna push OK. And so yeah, it looks like it's working fine now. Like it goes from 8 to 10, 0 to past 10. So this is somewhere in halfway. Is that right? Let's drag this over and let's see what we're doing. It's 13.5. Yeah, 0. So I just zoomed in on this page, right? So 0, 9.5, and then let's bring this on over here. And yeah, there's 13, and there's 0. So I think we're good. You know, I think this is all set up just fine and dandy. Okay. Okay. So that's one thing good to check. I mean, you always want to make sure, like, because it's kind of weird. So like, if I go back to this documentation, like it's in picus, I to be honest, I still haven't figured out how to change the default viewing of this. It's always shown picus to me, even though I type in there the inches and I have to say IN. Okay, so just do that, and then when you come over here to your document and you look at the rulers, drag this corner over to this corner just like we did in Photoshop, and then make sure that it's correct. And so you can do that by zooming in a little bit, and then if you so this is kind of weird. You just got to look at it. So if I'm like scrolling down, you can see the scroll wheel right here. If I scroll down so that the canvas hits the ruler, you can easily see how big it is. And so that's just a way of checking. So that's what I just did. So just check to make sure it's the right dimensions. This is the correct size of the page, and when they're set side by side, see, I told it to open 5, right? And so that's what it did. So if I zoom out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so when it's open as a spread, that is correct. It looks like it is. So this is 0, and it's going this way, and this is 0, and it's going that way. Okay, and so it's going all the way to 9.5 over here, from 0 to 9.5, and it's going from 0 to 9.5 over here. 9.5, 9.5. You know, so you get 19. So that looks correct to me. Okay. If I wanted to, if you find that confusing, you know, you just bring that corner back over here, and you can go over to this corner if you wish. I don't care though, so this is fine with me. I don't mind the 0 being in the middle, and then I know both sides, so that's cool. Okay. Anyways, let's talk about this process. Let's get it on moving. Because I know this looks very busy, I'm sure, to you, and all these bars, they change up here with each new tool. So I mean this is I mean, it gets very complicated. It can. So we're gonna take this slow. I need to go slow anyways. So let's continue on. Let's get our spreads in here, okay? So we're gonna go to File, and we're gonna go to Place, just like Photoshop, okay? And we're gonna go to that file where we saved out those JPEGs, because those are our starting spreads. And we're gonna go to Test Run Files, and I'm gonna get my jellyfish spread. And we're gonna push open, and what it's gonna do is gonna load a gun. I think I've always been called, it's called the gun. I think it's called the gun. I don't know if that's the official name, but this is kind of like the gun. So I have this like this cursor right here, and you see a little paintbrush, and then, or I guess pen or paintbrush, and it's got like a little thumbnail of the image that I want to do. So there are two things I can do with this thing actually, and so I don't look at this edge of the white paper. This is all like scratch space. This is your book right here. I think that's kind of obvious, but I have had people ask me about the two differences. This is just for like bleed control, I think. I mean, that's kind of the explanation that was told to me, but I really don't understand why has to be this far out. But this is where your book is. So this is the space that you want to be working with. And so let's say I come in here, because this is a spread, it's a 2-page thing, I need to go to a spread that's blank. I can't go up here because there's only one here. This is not a spread. This is a page, okay? This is a spread right here. And so I can do it two different ways. I can come over here to the corner and I can just click. And then if I just click, it's going to open the spread at full size to whatever the size the spread was. So because I saved the spread at 13 by 19, and this is a 13 by 19 spread opened up in InDesign, it will open to match the size here in InDesign. If the InDesign spread was smaller, it would have been, it would have gone over the edges. It would have looked, probably like this. Oops, I messed that up. It would have looked like this. It would have looked bigger. So that didn't happen though. Okay. The other thing you can do, all I did was Command Z, so I undid that. So now it's back as a gun. The other thing you can do is, so before I just clicked it, the other thing you can do is you can actually physically drag it. And without holding any buttons, it is already constrained to the correct proportions that the original document is in, okay? I'm not holding any buttons, I'm just holding and dragging the button. It's to those set proportions. As you can see, it's not moving. If I hold the shift button though, it will start to move to any proportions that I feel like. And if I do it to this, some weird one, it's still correct-ish. Like you can see it hasn't like shifted the image, it's just that small. And then the bounding box is kind of like oddly weird, like it's really long, So I mean, they're just different things that you can do. It gives you different elements of control. So it just depends on what you're going for. So for now, I mean, just the clicking, it works the best because it's going to be at that image. Just make sure you click right at the corner, you line it all up, and then bam, it comes out perfect. It comes out just like how you had it back in Photoshop. If I were to open up Photoshop, it looks just like what I had right here. If I turn on the guides, let's turn on those guides just to show you guys. So you see I have some overlap right here, and it looks just like that here in InDesign. Bam. So I tells me I lined up my guides pretty closely. I did about, I think there's a 1.5 inch margin right here, I think. Maybe, yeah, a little bit over an inch. Maybe it's a 1.75 inches. I don't know. It's somewhere around there, but basically this should look somewhat correct, and that's kind of what I have here. Yeah. So the first thing you want to be clear of is this is a page, and this is on my number 2 page, and this is my number 3 page. These are the names of those pages. This is called number 2. This is called number 3. Okay, that's the first thing you want to know. This is the pages window. That's what we're in right now. Okay, so this is kind of like a thumbnail version, very much like what Ching had in her book design thing. It's very much like this. So it looks very similar, doesn't it? It looks very similar. And so it works very similarly. It's pretty cool. And so if I select it, it's going to highlight blue. So that means I'm on that page. that means that, well, it doesn't mean I'm on that page, but it means that page is selected right now. If I were to double click though, then it means it goes to that page so I can see it. Now I'm on that page, plus it's selected. Okay? Hopefully that's clear. Okay? Up here, these are your master pages, and this is your master none page. Okay? These are a little bit different. If I were to click on this, it's blank. Look at that. Where'd everything go? Oh no, you know? This is something separate, okay? And we're going to be using a lot of this. This is what we're going to put our page numbers on. We're going to put our headers on, maybe, possibly. We're going to put other, maybe, repeating graphics on these pages. These are great. These are like templates. And when you assign one of these templates to your page, it automatically puts all that templates stuff on your page. And so we're going to be using that a lot. For now, though, we're not going to worry about that right now, okay? I'm just talking about the pages window at the moment. That's why I bring it up right now. Is there anything else about the pages? Yes, there are more pages. So if I have this, if I click this button, it creates a new page. It creates a new page after the one that's selected. So right now 4 is selected. So it's going to create another one right here at 5. Now that one's selected. Does that make sense? If I click it here at 7, then it keeps building off of 7 and it keeps going in order all the way up to 11. Okay. I can click a page and I can hold Shift. And I can go to 11, and then it selects all pages from 4 to 11. And then from here, if I wanted to, I could throw them all away. It's just like Photoshop in that respect. Yeah. So those are all good things to keep in mind. Okay, what is similar but different? This is the layers panel. Layers. This, it works similarly yet very differently from Photoshop. Okay, layers in Photoshop are kind of like it's kind of like laying over a new piece of invisible tracing paper to work on. And they will keep stacking up, but your image looks like one thing. You don't see any of the tracing paper, right? It's invisible. And so that's what that's what makes Photoshop really. I mean, once they invented layers, I mean, that broke everything concerning digital media. I mean, it was amazing. What a breakthrough. So anyway, InDesign, it's similar, but it's different, okay? Layers, you don't need near as many. Right now, layer, everything, like let's say I were to add some stuff. Like I added a text box there, I added a text box here, I added a text box here. You can see everything coming in this text box. By the way, the text that I'm writing in these boxes is what is appearing here in the layer, I believe. You know, this is the name of that image, so this is appearing. These are all right here. These are all in the same layer, and yet at the same time they are separate. I can take these things and manipulate them. It's not like as if in Photoshop, if I were to make a stroke with a thing, and I make another stroke, I can't start moving those strokes around. They move together in that one whole layer, you know. So that's one thing that's majorly different with the layers in InDesign. Okay, that's one thing to remember. So each layer, it can have different sub layers in it, but to make a whole nother layer, so these are all blue layer, this is red layer, layer 2. This is where I can make things different from the other layer. So if I made another text box, now it's in red because this is red layer. Those were in blue because that was blue layer, right? So now I have red layer and this is that, right? And so if I have this one selected, and let's say I open this one up so I can see this, now I can move everything in red layer, but I can't move everything in, well, I can because I just double clicked, but now I'm in blue layer. But you see how they're different, right? They're differing. And I can put different effects on these layers, and it affects only this layer and not that layer, and blah 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 blah. So that's one way of organizing. So it's just something to think about. What else? This spread, it's treated as one whole because it's one image, because I saved the whole thing out as one JPEG. So because it's one thing, I don't like having everything on the same layer. I like it having it its own layer, so I wouldn't have all those text boxes there. If I were to have any text boxes, I want them on layer 2. And then layer 2 for me, I could rename this, and I would name it like text box layer, you know? That's how I would keep it organized. It's very, very important, as maybe you have guessed, to keep everything organized when you're making a book, but especially within InDesign, because I mean, look at everything you can do in InDesign. I mean, I'm not telling you everything you can do in InDesign, but I mean, just take a look at the program. I mean, it's so it can do anything. It's complicated, It's like, so stay organized so you know where you are, so you don't get lost. So that, I mean, that's a little bit about layers. Let's start using some layers though. So actually, no. Let's look at the image first. I told you why not to save as not to do the format first in the name. Let's look at that, because importing your image could actually make a lot of problems just doing that. It seemed very simple a minute ago, but it could not work. Gotta come over here. Okay. So what I just did is, right now, this is my tool that I mainly use. This is for selecting everything. Selection tool, of course, blah. But selection tool, what I did was I highlighted here and I clicked here, right? And so when I have this selected, when I really have this selected, you don't want just this highlighted blue. This just means it's highlighted. This, when these squares pop up, that means it's selected, okay? So when it's selected, then you can come over here to edit, okay? And because what I'm thinking right now is maybe I did this wrong, okay? So this is what I'm going to show you, is how do I edit this image because I did something wrong, or maybe something's not quite where I wanted. You can't do it in this program. You can if you're to do only this program, but then that gets really complicated. It doesn't work with this method that I'm showing you. Right now, this method I'm showing you this is one whole image, right? And so maybe one of these things is off. Maybe I don't like this here. Maybe I want this moved over more. Maybe I want this move over that way. I can't do it. I can't do it in this program right now at this instant. What I have to do is I have to take it back to Photoshop. And to do that, so that it automatically works together, this is why I was showing you how to save your image, is you need to go to Edit. And this is the beauty of working within the Creative Suite. When you have Edit, you can start editing things across many different programs, and the programs will communicate with each other, telling each other what were the changes made, and it will change. It will make those changes automatically in the other programs, live. It's pretty cool. So what I want to do is, because I have this image selected, and I'm gonna select Adobe Photoshop, and it's gonna open up that image for me. And look, it just opened it up for me. This is JPEG. This is background. And what it's looking for is, it's looking for this name. Okay, that's right there is key. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's make these changes. So maybe I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna reverse it. Maybe I want it reversed. I think that's a good switch. It's a very clear switch. So I'm just gonna do flip canvas horizontal. And whoa, that looks weird, but that's cool. I'm gonna just reverse it right there. And I'm going to say I like that. So let's go back to Save As. Okay. This is important. Okay. If I were to do this first, is that right? No. Let's name it Jelly Fish Spread. What I'm trying to do for you guys is mess up on purpose so I can show you guys. Maybe it's not going to do it. I think I did it correctly. I think I'm good. Let's see. Did it work? Huh. Okay. I think it was okay. I think it went fine. So let's go save as. Wrong program. I'm gonna go edit with. Or no, I think I know what happened. Okay, save as. There, it's different. Aha. Replace. I think that's the correct file. I have to see which one of file. See, I typed it differently, so I did mess up actually. That's why it didn't work. So InDesign. Bam. It switched. See how it switched automatically? So what happened? I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened, because at first I was confused too. But it was something just so minor. So let's go back to my let's go to this file and look. See how this is jellyfish space spread.jpg, okay? That's the name of this file. What I did accidentally was, let's go back to that menu where everything is listed. I had jelly space fish space spread. That's why the file did not read. I just told you at the very beginning, it's looking for that name. And that name is what InDesign was going to look for any changes. When I started typing it out, I typed it wrong. I didn't type that name. I typed this name. This is different because it has a space right here. I hope that's clear. When it's different, it's not going to do anything in InDesign. When it's the same though, and I had to overwrite it, like if you look, if I click this file and I push save, it's going to say, do I want to replace it? You want to replace it. If I say replace, I push OK, then that means it automatically changed here in InDesign. Watch, if I go to, actually I don't know if I can do this part right here. I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know if I can make another change. I don't know if I have to go through that same process again. So I'm going to find something out too. Let's put something there. I'm going to say save as, and then I'm going to click that one, and I'm going to click. Oh, I need this JPEG. So this is the next part to say to mess up. See that? See how I messed that up? This is not the same name anymore. So change the format. Click this. Bam. It goes correct. This is JPEG. Bam. Save. Replace. Okay. Did it work? No. So you can only get one edit per process. Okay. So let me go over that again. I know this is the confusing part, okay? So I go over here to edit with Photoshop. Boom. It's going to open up a file. Huh. Let's X that. Let's X this. Don't save. Let me try that again. There we go. Oh, it did come. Okay, do it. It did come. I'm sorry this is getting confusing on you guys. But this is why this is so confusing. So I'm gonna do it correctly this time. Okay, I'm gonna do it correctly. So let's start this over. I'm gonna throw this away. I'm gonna file. I'm starting over completely. Okay, people. I'm gonna go file. I'm gonna go place. Okay, place. I'm going to go to jellyfish spread. I'm going to go to the one with the, so I don't want this one anymore, okay? I hope that's not confusing. I want the extra space this time. I want the extra space because it is blank, okay? I want the blank one now, okay? It doesn't have a line through it because I already saved the JPEG as that, okay? So I want this one now, okay? So sorry guys if that's confusing. I want the space now. So I'm going to do this. It's got a gun, okay? I just started over. Bam, it's there. It's ready to go, okay? I want this reversed. I want it to how it was originally, okay? So I'm going to go to here, edit. This is already selected. I know that because it has squares in the corners and in the middle and everything, right? It's already selected. It's ready to go. So I'm going to go file. I'm going to go edit. I'm going to go edit with. I'm going to go to Photoshop. It's going to pull up Photoshop and it's going to open my file for me, okay? I'm going to go to image. Image rotation, flip canvas horizontal. I'm going to file. I'm going to go save as, okay? I'm going to make sure this is on JPEG. I'm going to go to the file that I'm using. It's this one. I clicked on it. I push save. It's going to ask me if I want to replace it. I say replace. Okay? It is now replacing it. I'm going to push OK. Make sure it's on standard. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to bring up InDesign. And it's switched. Bam. That's how you edit with Photoshop in InDesign. It automatically took place. Okay? If I had renamed the file something different other than this, jelly space fish space spread.jpg, it would not have worked. If I had saved as a Photoshop and I had to change it to JPEG and it added the copy thing in there, it would not have worked. You need to make sure that you're overwriting the old file with exactly that name, and it will edit the file in Photoshop through InDesign for you. It'll completely do it for you right away. That's what you want. Okay, so that's how you're going to edit your images. Also, I mean, let's say I do it again. Let's say, edit. Let me go to Photoshop first before I do this. I'm going to turn this one off again. There, I turned it off. I think. Yeah, I turned it off. Minimize. Go back to InDesign. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to edit with. This is why this thing can be so useful. So edit with Photoshop. Okay. Now, let's say I don't want this thing here. Let's make a copy. I made a copy of this layer. I just did Command J. You can do the same thing by clicking and dragging this thing to a new layer. That totally works also. Okay. I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna select this and I'm just gonna move it on over. Okay, maybe I want it there. Now I have all this here because this thing is showing in the background. That's fine, it's cool, doesn't matter. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say that's good, deselect, that's cool where I want to move it. Right on this, select this layer and then push new layer. It's gonna make a new layer in between those layers. Go to the paint bucket tool. This is the paint bucket tool. Go to white. So right now it's on black. Black is on top right now. You want white. So just click these arrows. Or you can click X. X will do the same thing. The key X. So go to white. Fill it up with white. Boom. It looks like it moved over. It's right there. Okay? It did move over. Okay? I just put some white. I'm covering this one up. Okay? It doesn't really matter. You could just turn this one off. But if you turned it off, then it would have all these empty space. This checkerboard means it's transparent, which means there's nothing there. Which means I think it would work still. Like, I think the default printing for white is whatever the paper is, so it would still be white. But just for file sake and no confusion, I fill it with white. That's why I have this on top of this. When I moved that piece, it took this whole chunk and it moved it over, and I covered up the other chunk that was there. Which means if I took that chunk and moved it over, there's nothing in this chunk anymore right here. That space. That's why it's transparent. So I moved it over. I filled it up with white. Now it's where I like it. Like, I didn't want it there anymore. I wanted it here. So now I'm going to go to save as. Okay. Now it says Photoshop. Okay. Change this to JPEG. You want to make sure this is changed to JPEG. See how I added that copy? That's wrong now. You don't want that, okay? I need to click this. Now it is exactly that name, okay? It's that. This is that. This is correct. That's correct. We're going to push save. Do we want to replace it? Yeah, we want to replace it. We're going to replace it. It's on standard. It's at a pretty good quality. Standard. It's good. Push OK. It's saved. We're good to go. We're going to minimize this. We're going to bring up in InDesign, and then bam, it moved over automatically. Did you see that? Good. Hopefully that eliminates all the confusion. I just did it twice in a row correctly. If you got confused, you may have gotten confused. I know I got confused in there for a minute there. If you got confused, just rewind the video back, okay? 'Cause I'm not going to go over it again, okay? This is just showing you how this can be great, okay? Because what I could have been doing is, because I needed to, maybe my text box didn't fit. I'm making up a scenario why I would have to move this thing. Maybe my text box wasn't big enough. Maybe I need to move it over. Maybe I preferred it being on the left side over the right side. I can get this text box and I can put it there or something like that. Instead of over here. It just gives you ways of manipulating your image. And that's why we do it. The reason why we show this method instead of actually importing your images directly into InDesign is because this method, you have the most editing features with, and it's more Photoshop heavy than it is InDesign heavy, and most of us in the illustration department are more comfortable with Photoshop, as I was saying earlier, and Illustrator. And so those are the main reasons why we show this method. It's just easier for us. You could do it directly all in InDesign, and then you start importing each image as its own file into InDesign, and then you'd start working with a lot of probably like objects and stuff, and you transform them and make image boxes and stuff like that and other templates. But that requires a lot more InDesign knowledge, and honestly, to learn InDesign that quickly, I mean, you can. I mean, it's definitely doable. I know I kind of did in my second term. Like, I took Bob Cotto, and he makes you lay out all of your notes for the whole term, and he wants like a book at the end of the term, basically, with just your notes on top of everything else that he asks for. And I remember the first week, I took like 17 hours on just his notes because I gave myself like an 8-hour crash course in InDesign. And so, I mean, I was fried. I did not want to do anything. It was so much just to learn the program, and I still didn't know it that well. I just knew it enough just to fudge with it to kind of make it work. I didn't know this process at the time. I hadn't taken dynamic sketching, where I had Ching as my TA, and she showed me this. And this is how most people now, in illustration, I think, do their books. And so that's why we do it. So anyway, so yeah, that's why we're doing it this way. So yeah, it seems a tad complicated. No, it's not that bad once you know what you're doing. And I just made a video for you guys, so hopefully that works for you. And this is really the brunt of the tutorial. I mean, from here at this point, I think even you guys could probably do the book from this point now. A text box really isn't that hard. You just make a box, and it's all ready to go, the type and everything, and you're good to go. And here's the font, up here. I mean, here the font's up here. Here's the sizing and everything like that. You can choose all that. These are all semi-known things. I mean, some of these things aren't in your usual programs like Microsoft Word, but some of them are in Microsoft Word. So I'm sure you guys are semi-familiar with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up this video here at this point. And then the next video, I'm probably going to start talking about more about the pages. I'm going to start talking about master pages. I'm going to start probably talking about how to do your page numberings, how to do what else? Setting it up for print afterwards, and that's probably about it. I think that this is about it. I mean, this was the big thing. This is probably the most difficult thing that people have the most problems with, just getting it into InDesign. But I mean, we're not getting into InDesign. That's pretty simple. You just place your image, and then you have the gun, and then you just click it. But how to edit it later on after it's already an image. Now, of course, if you lay it out well, in Photoshop, then the less work you have to do with that anyways. Like I was showing you how I had this already laid out with my with how I thought I was going to lay it out already. I already had all this planned, and then the more planning you do, the less you'll have to fudge with it later. So I do, of course, I highly recommend you plan it the most before. And then if you want to go the extra distance, if you can plan out a layout like this and figure out how your whole book's going to flow, I mean, that all the more power to you. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up this video right here. And yeah, I hope it wasn't too confusing, and I hope you guys got it. And like I said, if it was too confusing, just rewind back and look at how I did it. And I think I was especially clear on how to do that last one. Really, what it all comes down to is you need to overwrite your file, and you need to have exactly the same name as the file you placed in InDesign. So that's really what it comes down to. But yeah, see you guys in the next video.